To look at the camera, please.
ערב טוב, אנחנו שמחים מאוד מאוד שהצטרפתם אלינו, אנחנו מתנצלים על העיכוב הקטן שהיה לנו כאן, רצינו לדאוג שהכל יצא הכי טוב שאפשר, גם מבחינת הסאונד, גם מבחינת כל הדברים שאתם הולכים לראות כאן בסדנה הזו היום. אז ברוכים הבאים לסדנת הלייב שלנו מאולפני BPM, אנחנו משדרים את זה מאולפני BPM, לי קוראים אייל גלדר מקילומבו, אנחנו כבר נפגשנו פה ושם בסדנאות כאלה ואחרות, ואני מאוד מאוד שמח וגאה לארח כאן נציג רשמי של חברת ארטוריה מצרפת, אנטואן ברי. Good evening, Antoine.
Good evening, Gilder.
Thank you.
Nice to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here. אנחנו תכף ניתן את רשות הדיבור לאנטואן, אני רק אסביר באופן כללי, חברת ארטוריה מייצרת המון מוצרים, אנחנו מדברים על סינתסייזרים, קונטרולרים, מקלדות, ועכשיו גם כרטיס קול, ואחת הסיבות הבאמת משמחות שיש לנו לערוך את הסדנה הזו היא שבאמת יש לכם הזדמנות נדירה לראות באמת hands on על הכרטיס החדש הזה, AudioFuse ככה קוראים לו, וזה עדיין נראה כמו קופסה כסופה ויפה שמרגישה מאוד מקבוקית, אבל אתם תראו מה יש כאן מתחת למכסה ממש ממש עוד מעט. אז אנטואן יעבור ביחד איתכם ויציג לכם את היכולות של AudioFuse, הכרטיס קול החדש של ארטוריה. יותר מאוחר אנחנו גם נציג בפניכם את ספינת הדגל, הסינתסייזר, ספינת הדגל של ארטוריה, שנקרא כמובן Matrixbrute. הזמן לא יאפשר לנו להציג את מגוון המוצרים המאוד מאוד רחב שיש לחברה הזו כבר היום. כמובן שאתם יכולים לראות את הכל באתר של קילומבו, יש לכם את כל המוצרים, עם כל ההסברים, כל הנתונים והמחירים, הכל באתר של קילומבו, אז אתם תמיד מוזנים לשם ולשאול מישהו מהצוות של קילומבו. אבל אני חושב שדיברנו מספיק וגם התעכבנו מעט, אז באמת הגיע הזמן לגשת לעניינים. So, good evening, Antoine, and once again, it's a pleasure to have you here. I'm very glad that you join us to Israel and to show the audience in Israel what is AudioFuse and Arturia in general is about.
Cool. Well, likewise, Gilder, and thanks all for joining in tonight. So, AudioFuse is a brand new audio interface and an audio interface of a new generation. And it's surprising to see Arturia getting in on this particular segment of the market because we are known as a manufacturer of plugins first, and we have recently evolved into hardware manufacturing controllers and then analog synthesizers, and now the company expands to this area, and there's a very good reason for it. We've been developing on audio interfaces for 15 years now, because we've been developing software and we've been developing hardware, and we wanted to connect all of that to be able to record the great sound of our synthesizers into a computer, or to be able to reproduce the great sound of our software into the real life. So conversion is a crucial step of this process, and as well, connectivity has always been a big headache for our developers back in the headquarters, because it's complicated to find good interfaces with decent connectivity and very good sound quality, all of it in an affordable price. So this is where Arturia felt that the market was lacking a product, and this is why we have come to the market with a new concept for an interface. So this is AudioFuse. It's a small box. This is my hand in comparison. It's really small, and it has a lid, and underneath it you can see it's really packed with controls, with knobs, with switches. You can see that the back panel is even more of a pack of connectivity, and the whole of it making the interface a really strong product in itself. So just to speak to you just 2 minutes about the audio quality of AudioFuse. So AudioFuse is a 12-in 14 out, actually 14 in, 14 out audio interface. So 14, but 12 simultaneous. So what you will have with the AudioFuse is 2 microphone line or instrument inputs in the front panel, and an extra set of 2 inputs on the back, of 2 analog inputs in the back. We have phono inputs on the back panel as well, on switch, which are analog, and they are actually exclusive, so it's either line or phono. And finally, you have another optional 8 out inputs through the ADAT connectivity in the back. So you can see that the real estate here is really well occupied, and that a lot of well, there's not much space for more behind it. So 4 analog ins, 8 digital ins, total of 12. But I must, and on the output side, we have 4 analog outputs and another 8 through ADAT, plus 2 speakers, 2 headphone outputs that are located on the front panel. So AudioFuse, for such a small box, is a real incredible in terms of connectivity. Now, if we look at the inputs, the interface itself, as I said, it's very populated, but it's also very clear how to operate it. So I'll just press the switch here called the Arturia switch, or the AudioFuse switch. Here we'll call the AudioFuse interface on the computer. And here you have access to all the extended parameters of the interface. It's very convenient when you're working on the computer to be able to call your interface during your session without having to go into your icons or into your program files. So AudioFuse is compatible with any computer, be it Mac, be it PC. It's also going to work with Linux systems, and it works with iOS devices and Android. So you can connect it to virtually anything, and it allows you to record using professional audio quality on any kind of device. So once you have connected your interface through USB, you will notice here that I've connected it only using the USB. The interface itself comes with its dedicated power supply. It's a power supply with various country adapters. It will work on various voltages, so you can really travel with it and work with it either in Japan, in the States, in Israel, or in Europe. But you can also power it directly from the USB. So the interface comes with a specific USB cable that has 2 ends. So you can connect it only on USB and still get enough power to power the 2 mic pre's using phantom power 48 volt. So true mobility, and this is also true when you're working with iOS devices such as iPads. You can connect one end on the iPad or the iPhone through camera connection kit, and the other end, if you own a power bank, pocket battery, you're able to gain from it enough power to alimentate your microphones. So speaking about the microphone pre's, this is actually the heart of AudioFuse, and this is where its quality is so amazing. We have designed the Discreet Preamplifier. The technology is called Discreet Pro, and it's so based on discrete components instead of integrated circuits. So discrete components are a chain of components that are soldered the one after another, as opposed to integrated circuits. And this even if taking more space on the PCB and even if taking a higher cost of manufacturing, allows us to reach a quality that's kind of unheard of in this kind of market category. So we're, with the AudioFuse, we have an equivalent input noise, that is the signal to noise ratio, of minus 131.5 dB, which is incredibly low. And this allows you to use all the gain stage, 75 dB of gain, all the way up to the end without having an unusable level of noise. That's a great point. We also have an extremely low total harmonic distortion and noise. So this is around minus 107. And this is showing that the signal, the original signal, is respected and is not modified by unwanted harmonics, even and more until the end of the gain course. So that means that you can use your gain stage all the way up without creating unwanted harmonics and noises. And finally, we have, using in this interface, incredibly good converters that are also used in the high fidelity and market, and which not only ensure very good conversion, but also so very good dynamics, but we also have a very pleasant sound. And this is something that's really important about this sound card. It is not only advertising great figures, it's also sounding incredibly good. And I've been using it for a couple of weeks now. Just listening to my tracks through it is amazing. I'm rediscovering a lot of things. So now looking at the interface in itself. So I've been speaking about the connectivity. I'll just show you the front panel here. So we have control, extended control on our two mic pre's, which are here. So we have, actually I need to activate one mic pre. I'll take one jack and connect it. And here I have the selection between line or instrument. If I had put an XLR in it, I would have had the choice of microphone only, and I would be able to activate front-end power, which is not the case here. I can invert the phase, I can apply a pad, and I have control on my gain, which is independent from my output level, which is controlled here, and independent from my headphones output. And having independent controls is great, because if you've been using those interfaces with one big knob that you need to click to set up one level or another, and you know what I'm talking about when I say it can be annoying, because you're often changing the levels that you were not looking at. So this is the mic pre. Once again, great quality. The mic pre, another great feature about it is that it's connected in a 100% analog chain to my inserts to my two inserts, which are here. So we have two TRS inserts, and so that means that you can attack with an insert cable. You can go attack external compressors, EQs, reverbs, whatever your effects are that you are using outboard in a 100% analog chain. That means no conversion is applied on the output or back when it comes in the signal chain. And so we attack the insert, and then only is the sound converted into the computer. This is a fantastic feature. This is something that is usually accessible on very expensive studio gear, and only here on the interface, it's directly here, saving you also a lot of time and energy in doing connections and back and forth. On the outputs side, so we have speaker A and speaker B outputs. So here I can select speaker A and speaker B. So directly I can listen to my mix on two different pairs of speakers. That's really useful to check your mix and control if what you did is not only sounding good on your regular speakers, but on other pairs of speakers. You have here on the main monitoring section, you have the selection of your routing, so Q1, Q2, or main. This you will find on both the headphones output as well, Q1, Q2, or main. And that means that you can control the routing and change it on the fly, which is really useful when working with musicians. You can give a monitoring mix to someone else and another mix to the other person, and if ever they would change seats, well, you can change that on the fly to follow them. So that's really useful. We have mono. The mono switch allows to basically send out your output in mono, so that sums the channels into mono, which is really useful for identifying phase cancellations issue. So very useful also for mixing in mono, which is becoming big lately. You have a mono switch on the main monitoring mix. You also have a mono switch on both the headphone outputs. And finally, you have here a dim switch that will dim your output, and you can set this up in the preferences, -10, 20, or 30 dB. And you have a full mute button here. And finally, on the front panel, you have a talkback button here, which is linked to the talkback microphone, which is hidden in this little hole here. So when you activate the talkback, then you can, through the microphone, communicate with musicians that you are recording or working with in a separate room. And you don't need to spoil one of your fantastic sounding mic pre's to do that. You also have on AudioFuse extended MIDI connectivity. So we have MIDI in and out. Those are in mini jack format, but the interface comes with this jack to DIN adapter, so you can communicate with all your gear. You have world clock, so you can sync your gear, and you can get a lot of inputs from the ADAT. So it's really, as you can tell, packed with controls, packed with features. Oh, finally, on the front panel here, we have a blender of direct signal versus computer signal. So the direct would be useful when tracking musicians that are uncomfortable with even the smallest of latencies. So then you can go to direct to have only the inputs directly routed to the outputs, while if you go into computer, then you will have only the sound of your session. It's good when you're recording, for example, drums or piano, that the kind of percussive instruments where musicians are often very, very demanding on the latency side. Latency on this unit is still extremely low. We are around 3 millisecond latency, which is unperceivable. But some people can be pretty anal about latency. I can be sometimes, but drummers mostly are. So this is a very nice and very easy way around it. Direct or computer. So let me talk about the software interface, which is on the computer. So I call it, as I said, pressing this logo button. Here I have my interface. I can select my digital inputs, the settings of my digital inputs and outputs. So here I have selected ADAT and an input, and I can select, I would like to, for example, send a world clock as the output. So this is done very easily. Here I can select the clock source, sample rate. On the right side here, I have the selection between my two supplementary analog ins. So either line 3/4 or phono 3/4. Phono 3.4 has a ground lift, so it's a full-featured RIAA preamp. If you switch to Phono, then I can here link my channels and I can apply a level of gain that fits my need. If my turntable is not set up well, I can correct a channel. And here I am, I have my Phono preamp set up. If I'm back into line now, so using my two line jacks behind it, so I can apply a pad to one or the other. I can set up my gain here as well. And line 3 is actually switchable to instrument level, which is great. That means that you have up to 1, 2, and 3 instrument inputs simultaneously. I have here underneath my talkback section. The talkback, so this is linked to my talkback microphone. I can apply a level of gain to my talkback and send it to either the speakers or the two phones buses. Finally, the last section is here, direct monitoring mix. So this is basically the levels and the settings of panoramic of all my inputs, and I can, through the interface, just memorize a setting, and whenever I will disconnect the interface, the setting will remain in memory, so I will be able to operate standalone using the AudioFuse. This is great for just having a little mixer on the move, or just to have all your gear connected at home, and you don't have to fire up the computer to start making music. One thing I did not yet speak about, and which is a really, really important feature on AudioFuse, is the possibility to do reamping with it. So speaker B output is switchable to a high impedance level output. This is very interesting. This is very useful. And to illustrate that, I'll just show a little diagram that that I've prepared. So this is me recording at home, and in a silent way. I'd rather not do too much noise at night. So I'm recording on my headphones, and I'm doing a guitar track and tracking on Ableton Live using blues amp modeling. So let's say that I'm really happy with the take I did. I performed well, but the sound is not satisfactory for my production. I would like to make this sound on a proper, real amp, but to do that, I would normally have to play again the track that I did. But if I'm really, really happy with the initial track, and I don't think I'll be able to redo it again, or just simply if I'm lazy about it, now with the reamping, I can send my track out of AudioFuse, and at an instrument level, that is, if I have switched my outputs to instrument level, this means that it will actually be as if I was playing it again, and then I'll be able to send it to pedal boards or instrument level effects, and then to an amplifier which accepts only instrument level, and from the amplifier to various cabinets. So here on the picture we have a Fender and a Marshall, and two very different types of sounds, and from there I will record using different types of microphones back into the AudioFuse, allowing to stack 2 more tracks in this example, but I could do many more, and giving my music some new colors that I'm then able, at the mixing, during the mixing process, to put on one side or in front or in the back. And this is great. This is a technique that is extremely used in the studio, not only on guitars. It's also very used on drums, like on the snares mostly, but also on voices, on synthesizers, on whatever. It's plenty of gear, and really the limit is your imagination. But it's great to be able to send this at instrument level, because if you wanted to do the same thing at a line level, even with the slightest setting of gain, you would have a distorted signal. Now, the way you do it on AudioFuse is very simple. You just here select to control the level of speaker B from phone 2. So that is your phone 2 parameter gain becomes the level of your speaker B. And from there, I'm here able to activate reamping, that is actually switching the output to instrument level. And now my phone 2 level becomes my gain knob, as in the gain knob of my guitar signal in the latter example. And I even have a ground lift to remove unwanted noise signals. And you can see that here I'm unable to change speaker A to speaker B because the reamping is active. And to illustrate that, we have the arrows that are in green color here. So this is the reamping. It's a really nice feature in such an interface. Let me remind that AudioFuse is shipping now, and that it costs only 599 euros. So I don't know exactly how this translates to shekel, but it's available now, and well, coming soon actually. It's on its way to Israel, and it will come in 3 different colors. We have this beautiful silver with the brown leather. We also have a dark gray model with white leather, and finally a black interface with orange leather, which is also very nice. So it's really a matter of picking up the one you prefer, but to me, it's no questions asked. You know, all 3 are really good. One last thing is, we have a USB hub here, and this USB hub, when powered by the DC power, gives you the opportunity to connect your iLock and your like a controller or a hard drive, whatever. The great thing about this USB hub is also that if you have an AudioFuse and one of your friends has another, you can actually daisy chain them, that is, plug the one into the other, and this will allow you to multiply your in-out count. And this works also into Pro Tools. Pro Tools will allow you to aggregate devices, so this is a great solution to expand your connectivity. Yeah, AudioFuse.
Wow. Wow. Okay, Antoine, that was amazing. There are so many things packed into this little sexy box. And if it's okay, I'll make a very short sum of your things for those who didn't watch from the beginning, or those who missed a line here or two. So I'll make a very short sum in Hebrew to let people understand what AudioFuse is all about. So if we take a look in AudioFuse, let's just zoom into AudioFuse, and we'll see. Well, oh, yeah. The next one wants to start a play. Yeah, we're talking about the Matrixbrute is about to start a play soon. So if we have a look on AudioFuse, so as we said, it's a very little and light box, not too light, but everything is packed into a very compact box, and you can see it's an aluminum chassis. Oh, I'm speaking English because I'm with Antoine for a few days, and I promised to explain in Hebrew. So I'll switch to my mother language.
Please do.
עכשיו יהיה לי הרבה יותר קל להסביר את הדברים. אז כמו שאמרנו, קופסה קטנה, עשוית אלומיניום, הוא מרגיש ממש ממש טוב, אבל מעבר לזה שהוא מרגיש טוב, אנחנו יכולים לראות באמת שדחסו לתוך הקופסה הקטנה הזאת כמעט כל דבר שאתם יכולים רק לדמיין, זה כאילו שמישהו לקח את הפיצ'ר ליסט, את הפיצ'ר ריקווסט של כמעט כל יצרן כרטיסי קול בעולם, והצליח לדחוס פנימה את הכל. אז באופן מאוד מאוד זריז, כדי לא לחזור על כל הדברים שאנטואן אמר, אנחנו יכולים לראות פה שני ערוצים, שתי כניסות, שתי הכניסות האלה מכילות פריאמפים מסדרת Discreet Pro, זה פריאמפים חדשים שנבנו במיוחד ל-AudioFuse. כל סטריפ כזה, כל כניסה כזו מכילה בעצם כניסת קומבו שמאפשרת לנו חיבור של ליין, אינסטרומנט, חיבור ישיר של גיטרה למשל, או מיקרופון, כשאתם יכולים לבחור את המעבר בין מיקרופון לבין אינסטרומנט באמצעות כפתור, ואנחנו יכולים לראות שהכפתורים כאן מאפשרים לנו הנחתה, מאפשרים לנו פנטום פאוור, 48 וולט, תכף נדבר על הפנטום פאוור הזה גם כשאנחנו מחוברים גם ללא חשמל, אז אמרנו את העניין הזה. פייזינג, כלומר אם אני ארצה להפוך את הפאזה של אותו ערוץ לצורך הקלטה כזו או אחרת, כמו שאני אומר, כל הדברים האלה על כל אחד מהסטריפים בנפרד ובחומרה, אני מדגיש את העניין הזה בחומרה, יש לכם כפתור נפרד, שהוא dedicated לפנטום פאוור, כפתור שהוא dedicated לפד, כפתור שהוא dedicated לפייזינג וכן הלאה וכן הלאה, כלומר חשבו כאן עד הסוף, אתם לא צריכים לנוע בין 2000 תפריטים דרך כפתור אחד ועוד כפתור שיפט, פשוט הכל נמצא כאן. וכמובן gain control על כל אחד מהערוצים. במרכז כמובן הכפתור האינטואיטיבי מכל, זה הכפתור הגדול שמאפשר לנו שליטת ווליום. אם אתם מצליחים לראות ברגע שאני משנה את הווליום, מאחר ואנחנו מדברים פה על אנקודר ולא על פוטנציומטר, אין לי הרי את הקו שאומר לי בעצם איפה אני נמצא. ולכן יש לנו כאן בעצם תצוגת לדים בצבע כחול שמראה לי בעצם איפה אני נמצא באופן יחסי לסקאלה שלי, וברגע שאני אעזוב אותו אנחנו יכולים לראות לדים ירוקים, כתומים וגם אדומים בקצה את ה-view-meter שלנו בסטריאו, גם ימין וגם שמאל. במרכז, כמו שאמרנו, כמו שאנטואן אמר, יציאות המאסטר, יש לכם אפשרות דים, הנחתה שאתם יכולים להגדיר אותה באמצעות התוכנה, יש לכם אפשרות מיוט, יש לכם אפשרות מונו בכרטיס עצמו, אתם לא צריכים לעבור דרך קופסה כזו או אחרת בשביל לבדוק את המיקס שלכם במונו, לחיצה על כפתור מונו ואתם מיד יכולים לקבל את זה, ושני כפתורים שמאפשרים לי ניתובים, ופה אנחנו כבר גולשים לתוך יציאות האוזניות, שני כפתורים כפתור אחד שמאפשר לי בעצם ניתוב של איזה ערוץ אני רוצה להוציא אל האוזניות, כל אחת מיציאות האוזניות, ויש שתיים כאלה, שתי יציאות האוזניות, כל אחת מיציאות האוזניות מאפשרת לי גם בחירה של מונו, אני יכול לבחור במונו ביציאת האוזניות, שליטת עוצמה, וביציאות האוזניות עצמן, זה קצת קשה לראות מהחלק העליון, אבל יציאות האוזניות עצמן הם חיבור מיני ג'ק וחיבור ג'ק, כלומר רבע אינץ' ושמינית אינץ', לא משנה איזה אוזניות יש לכם מתאם, אין לכם מתאם, אתם יכולים לחבר אותם מיד ולקבל את התוצאה שתרצו. לא נכתב בספר שככה זה צריך לעשות, אבל טכניקלי אתם יכולים גם לחבר 4 זוגות אוזניות, כמובן שיש פה עניין של התנגדות וצריך לקחת בחשבון את העניין הזה, אבל באילוצים כאלה ואחרים שתרצו להשתמש בכרטיס, אתם יכולים לחבר אפילו 4 יציאות אוזניות. יהיה לי קצת קשה לזכור את כל הדברים שאנטואן אמר, אבל עוד אחד מהדברים המאוד מאוד חשובים, A-B comparison אמיתי, לכרטיס הזה יש 2 יציאות מאסטר שנועדו למוניטורים, ואתם פשוט בלחיצה אחת עוברים בין A ל-B בצורה מאוד מאוד קלה, כשעל ספיקר B אתם פשוט יכולים לשלוט על הווליום בהגדרה דרך התוכנה, ככה שהעניין הזה הופך להיות מאוד מאוד פשוט וקל, אתם יכולים ממש להשוות את הלבלים של 2 זוגות המוניטורים שלכם, ולעבור בלחיצה אחת של כפתור בין ספיקר A לספיקר B, בין זוג אחד לזוג שונה, וזה פשוט נהדר. יש הרבה אנשים שהולכים ומשלמים הרבה כסף על קופסאות נפרדות בשביל העניין הזה, אז במקרה הזה הכל בתוך הקופסה הזו. מבחינת כניסות ויציאות, אם אנחנו נציץ רגע בחלק האחורי, מבחינה דיגיטלית, ספידיף, SPDIF, יש לכם בעצם סטריאו אין וסטריאו אאוט, או שזה שני ערוצים אם נהיה קטנוניים, אתם יכולים גם לטפל בוורד קלוק באמצעות הספידיף, ו-ADAT כמובן שמוסיף לכם עד 8 ערוצים, אני אומר עד כי זה תלוי בסמפל רייט שאתם תעבדו בו, 96 קילו הרץ מאפשר לכם 4 ערוצים, 44,100 יאפשר לכם 8 ערוצים ב-ADAT, ואלה מגבלות של הפורמט. כמובן, כמו שאמרנו, היציאות עצמן הן כמובן מאוזנות. כניסת פטיפון, אתם יכולים לחבר פטיפון באופן ישיר לתוך AudioFuse ולהקליט, או פשוט ליהנות, אתם יכולים ממש לחבר פטיפון לכאן וליהנות פשוט מהפריאמפ של AudioFuse, רק להאזנה, גם לא דרך התוכנה, גם לא דרך המחשב, וכמובן מפצל USB שמאפשר לכם, במיוחד לרוכשי המקבוקים בשנים האחרונות, 3 יציאות USB, שזה דבר פשוט נפלא, חסכוני, נוח, ומאוד מאוד נגיש. תתארו לעצמכם שאתם יכולים לחבר את הקילאב שלכם או את המיני-לאב שלכם ישירות לתוך העניין הזה. אתם יכולים לחבר את האיילוק שלכם או את הדונגל של תוכנה כזו או אחרת ישירות לתוך ההאב הזה. כלומר, חשבו כאן על הכל. אחת התגובות שראיתי בפייסבוק תוך כדי השידור לייב התייחסה לכמות הכבלים שמחברים לכרטיס קול, והתשובה שלי היא נורא פשוטה, כל כרטיס קול צריך לחבר אליו כבלים. כלומר, אני לא הצלחתי לגמרי להבין את העניין. כלומר, כל כרטיס קול שתרצו לחבר אליו מיקרופון או לחבר יציאות כאלה או אחרות, תצטרכו לחבר כבלים. אז יהיו כאלה שיבואו במארז של 19 אינץ', יהיו כאלה שיגיעו במארז שולחני, ופשוט פה מה שאנחנו רואים זה דסקטופ לייאוט של כרטיס קול שנראה שחשבו בו על הכל. מבחינת האיכות מבטיחים לנו המון, אני מודה שאני אישית עוד לא בדקתי אותו, אבל הנתונים הם פנטסטיים, וזה באמת משהו שמבחן הזמן, ואתם מוזמנים לבוא ולבחון ולראות את זה ברגע שזה יגיע לקילומבו. וזהו, אני חושב שסיכמתי בעברית בקצרה, עד כמה שיכולתי, את כמות האפשרויות האדירה הזו שמגיעה עם AudioFuse. I'll take a breath. And I'll switch back to English so Antoine can understand, but I think now it's time to play with the big brother, not his brother, from this family, from this great family. We'll move to the big brother, the flagship synthesizer of Arturia, the Matrixbrute. So in a few words in Hebrew, and meanwhile we can slide the Matrixbrute to the middle, אז בכמה מילים אני אסביר באופן מאוד 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 כללי וגס על מה הסינתסייזר המפלצתי הזה מסוגל לעשות. אנחנו רואים פה בעצם 3 אוסילטורים, בעצם אתם יודעים מה, אני לא אכנס לכל הנתונים הקטנים, אבל 3 אוסילטורים עם הפילטר של סטיינר פארקר שארטוריה עושה בו שימוש, ובאמת הביג דיל בכל הסיפור הזה זו המטריצה. המטריצה שבעצם מחליפה לנו את השקעים המודולריים שאנחנו יכולים לראות בסינתסייזרים, גם ותיקים מאוד, גם וינטייג'יים, וגם בסינתסייזרים חדשים שהם מודולריים. בעצם את כל הניתובים אתם יכולים לעשות באמצעות המטריצה, אתם יכולים לכתוב ארפג'יו, אתם יכולים לכתוב תפקידים שונים, אני לא אכנס להכל, אני אשאיר לאנטואן את הבמה, אבל גבירותיי ורבותיי, Matrixbrute, אני רק אזכיר לכם בנקודה הזו, אנחנו בשבוע ארטוריה בקילומבו, וזה אומר שבכל השבוע הזה, אם עדיין הצלחתם לפספס, בכל השבוע הזה כל המוצרים של ארטוריה הם ב10% הנחה, ומטריקסברוט הוא במחיר פסיכי, אין לי מילה עדינה יותר בשידור לומר, אבל באמת המחיר הזול ביותר בעולם. כמה? לכו לאתר של קילומבו ותציצו ותראו ותבינו על מה אני מדבר. Antoine, Matrixbrute, I'll give you the pleasure, and it will be a pleasure. I'll drop by to say hello and goodbye when you'll finish.
Cool. Thanks, Gilder. All right, Matrixbrute, let me sit closer. Yeah, a pleasure it is. A pleasure it will be. It's always. So, Matrixbrute is the latest synthesizer from Arturia. It's a big modular synthesizer based on a 3 oscillator structure. We have 2 oscillators, VCO1 and VCO2, that are based on the Brute oscillator, mini Brute and micro Brute. It's called the Exponential Oscillator. This because it allows users to mix a total of 4 waveforms together. We have a triangle, we have a square, we have a sawtooth, and we have a sub-oscillator. So these 4 waves are mixed together to create the sound of oscillator 1. And for each of these 4 waves, we have a dedicated parameter that is for the sub-oscillator, the way to mix between sinus and square. For the saw, we have ultra-saw parameter. For the pulse width, we have a pulse width parameter. And finally, for the triangle, we have a very nice metalizer parameter based on wavefolding. So this is oscillator 1. We have an exactly identical oscillator 2. We have a third oscillator, which is linear, which means it gives you a choice between 4 waveforms, but only 1 at a time. Finally, you have a noise source here with 4 noise flavors, white, pink, red, and blue. And you have an external input, which is located here. And here you are able to manage the gain setting, and you have the ability to switch between line or instrument, and to apply a small noise gate. So all of these noise sources or signals get here a gain stage in the mixer section. So you have VCO 1, 2, 3. So that's my 3 oscillators, then my noise, and finally my external input. And here next to those knobs, I have a switch to apply a routing, so the routing of the filter. Because we have 2 filters available on Matrixbrute, the orange filter, which is the Steiner-Parker filter, very well known for the sound characteristics it gave to the mini-brute, the micro-brute, and the Arturia synth in general. So it's a very nice sounding filter with very specific characteristics. And we also have another filter, which is the green filter. This is the ladder filter, a very common filter that you find in many synthesizers of several very famous brands. So basically, those 2 filters are 2 flavors, and you can mix them, and you can send, say, oscillator 1 in the orange, oscillator 2 in the green, oscillator 3 in both, and the noise in both. And so you can mix the flavors. On both of the filters, you have multiple modes. So you have a low pass, band pass, high pass, and notch on the Steiner-Parker, where you have only low pass, band pass, and high pass on the ladder filter. On both, you have 2 choices of slope types. You have 12 or 24 dBs. And finally, you are able to apply a drive on each, to apply a brute factor, which would be a feedback loop that can make things go really wild in your sound path. You have cutoff and resonance parameters for both, an envelope amount for both, and finally a gain stage on the output. You have here in the middle this very sexy big knob. It's the master cutoff, so this will be an offset of the position of both your cutoff, allowing you to instantly control the cutoff of both filters. And here you have a selection of routing, which are filters in parallel or in series, that is the Steiner fed into the ladder filter. So that's the audio path, audio generation path. It also ends into an analog effects section, which is located here. I'll just spend 2 minutes speaking about it. It's great to have an analog effect section on a synth, on an analog synth. Most synthesizers have digital effects, and it's usually the first thing that I turn off when I start to operate the synth. Here we have 5 effect types that are based on bucket brigade delays chips, and this sounds really sweet. It's lush sounding, time-based effects, and so it's great to have this in the end of my audio chain. Then after the effects, we attack the VCA, so the output level. And just before my analog effects, I have here an insert connection. So with an insert jack, I could also, expand my effects possibilities and go attack any pedals or other effects, reverbs, etc. So I can have full flexibility on the effects processing on the Matrixbrute. So that was the audio chain. We have, based on that audio material, we have some modifiers. So we have 3 envelopes. Envelope 1 will be dedicated to the filters. Envelope 2 dedicated to the amplifiers, to the VCA, the amplifier. And envelope 3 is free and to be assigned to whatever you like. We have 2 LFO. LFO would be low frequency oscillators, so oscillators that operate beyond or underneath the audio rate, and that are a way to make your sound evolve without having to touch the parameters, so automate some sound moves. Here we have an FM section called audio mod. So this is a way to have various parameters modulate one another. So the oscillator 1 modulating oscillator 2, oscillator 3 modulating either oscillator 1 or 2, oscillator 3 modulating either filter 1 or filter 2, and finally noise modulating either oscillator 1 or filter one. Hard sync between my two first oscillators, VCO 1 and 2. And here I will have some play parameters to assign my wheels, my glide, time, and toggle it on and off, my note priority, my legato, and here 4 macro parameters that can be assigned to whatever part of the synthesizer of the front panel. Finally here, very important, I have a voice section which allows me to turn the unit from monophonic, which is its main and first setting, so monophonic, to paraphonic, where the 3 oscillators will, for each represent a voice, so that allows me to create sounds with up to 3 notes. And duo split, which would be a way for me to split my keyboard in 2 parts and have one filter on the left part and another filter on the right part. So that's a way for me to place patches with 2 sounds, 1 sound on each of my hands. So that is the front panel. Finally, I have here a sequencer section. So with my tempo control, and I will be able to write and play back sequences and arpeggios from this section. And finally, the front panel is ruled by this very big matrix, which gives its name to the product. So the matrix is a 16 by 16 grid, where you can which you can use for 3 main functions. So these functions are first preset, that's the default setting. So preset because yes, Matrixbrute is a modular synth. Yes, Matrixbrute is a 100% analog audio chain, but yes, it has presets as well. So you have 256 presets available, and these are organized in a way that I'll detail in a minute.
I'd like to interrupt you for just 1 second, because one of the first things that everyone who enters a shop or put his hands on when touching a synthesizer is listening to some presets. Can you play some presets, just 1 note with the arpeggiator or the sequences? No, not, yeah, something like that. Of course. Thanks.
Enough with the talking. Like you could have told it, you know, in a less nice way. Like, shut up and play some stuff. So those are my sequences, and actually, let's listen to a few sounds. But to do that, I'll just show you the way they're organized. So you could look at the matrix in 4 blocks of 4 rows, and on each block is organized the same. So I'll have my sequences on the first row, and on the second row I'll have some bass sounds. So all the sounds I'll play on this second row will be bass, and it's really easy to find some sounds that I like. Then third column will be only pads. So mostly sounds based on the paraphonic functionality, so I can do chord. Those are my pads. And finally, the last column are some lead sounds. So this is just a taste. It's huge. You have so many sounds, and all of them sounds great. We have a lot of low end. We have, it is a machine that is inclined itself to doing some really incredibly evolving drones, but it also can sound incredibly sweet and lush. So but we'll get into the sound characteristics in a minute. So the preset browser is like this, and then on the second block, I start first column, and yes, it's again the same pattern. We are listening to sequences. And then bass, pads, and finally lead sounds. And the pattern goes on and on and on. So, well, we won't have time to listen to the 256 sounds that are on this matrix right now, but it's you definitely need to check them out at Quilombo whenever you have the chance. So then the second section of my grid here is the sequencer. So here we need to look at the matrix horizontally. So we have 4 rows, 4 blocks of 4 rows, and these rows represent my steps. So I have up to 64 steps. And on the second row, I have my accents. On the third row, I have my slides. And the last row is a mod sequence that is a little bit more advanced, and I'll get back to later on. So each of these rows are steps, accent, slide, mod, step, accent, slide, mod, etc. So this is my sequencer. I have a sequence that can be long from 1 step to 64 steps. And we have various play parameters on the sequences. And finally, the last, but not the least, of the functionalities of this matrix is the mod matrix. And this is really the heart of the sound design process. Based on this matrix, you can virtually connect any input of your synthesizer into any of its outputs. And this is absolutely amazing, a tool to explore sound design in a very flexible way. Hassle-free, you don't have a problem of, oh, that cable is too short, it can't reach. Or you don't have all the rules that, oh, but you plug an input in an input and your synth is ruined because you were not allowed to do so. Here it's risk-free, hassle-free, and it's also very nice because thanks to the preset, you can read the matrix of whatever preset you've been choosing. I really like this one. Oh, how was it done? So, oh, I can see, I can read it. So the way the matrix works is sources vertically to destinations horizontally. So I can select a source here, for example, LFO1, and connect it to a destination here, my cutoff, the cutoff of my filter. And I know that my LFO1 is controlling the cutoff of the filter. So to look at it more in depth, what I'll do is call an init patch. So to do that, I'll just press panel. This is the panel button. So the panel button disconnects the digital interface from the analog control. So when the panel is active, all my parameters are exactly at their hardware value. That means basically what you see is what you hear. So here, I don't hear much. So I'll get back to the digital interface and just press panel plus preset, and that brings me an init patch. So here's my init patch. The init patch is just one sawtooth sent to both my filters, filter 1 and filter 2. So I can start creating a sound on that base. So I'll use a triangle. So with a little bit of metalizer here, I have a keyhole parameter, which is very convenient for operating sound design hands-free. And I can start to mix my waveforms, add a sub oscillator, and I can maybe activate a second oscillator and send it to both my filters as well. So that is the start. So that is a starting point. And based on this sound, I'm going to go explore what my matrix can do. Let's just add a little bit of effect to this. Here, a little bit of chorus. So there we go. And I'll just keep this on hold, and I'll start to work on my connections. So, for example, here I'm connecting, I would like to connect my LFO to my Steiner-Parker filter, and my LFO1 is now going to open and close the cutoff based on the speed that I dial in. I could, so this is LFO1 to Steiner-Parker cutoff, and when the connection is active, I'm applying a level of modulation, either in positive or in negative. Now I could add another connection next to it to the ladder cutoff, which is my second filter, and apply the same modulation, for example, but in negative. So whenever one is closing, the other one is taking over. So that is just an example. What another way to do it, if I remove those connections, so now I have a very stable sound. I have here, you may have noted, so I just list my destinations. So I have 4 first destinations that are directed to the VCO1, 4 next to the VCO2. Then I have 2 destinations to the cutoff of the 2 filters, then to my LFO1 amount, and finally to my VCA. But the last 4 have a button here. And you may have noticed this small e-ink screen, so I can apply a connection by pressing the button and moving a parameter, then the parameter is automatically assigned. So I'm able to apply the same thing. So here I selected the master cutoff, so I've been connecting it here. And so based on this connection, I can now connect my LFO1 to the master cutoff filter. And so I'll be able to manage 2 connections at a time. So here, my LFO1 is controlling the cutoff of both. So I can have LFO1 control this. I could set up, as example, the LFO1 rate, which is not listed in my destinations. I could connect it here, press the button, apply the connection, the screen updates, and you can see LFO rate is now connected. So I can have my LFO2 control the speed of my LFO1. creating this kind of bouncing ball effect. So that's just a very quick introduction on how the modulation matrix works. Now, I'll just quickly remove those connections. I'll just quickly speak about the sequencer and how it works. So to do that, I'll do, as I did with the preset, call an init sequence, a panel plus sequence, and I'm initializing the sequencer. And so based on this, I can record a few notes. And so let's set up the length of this. Set 16 steps. Let's listen. So here I have a sequence running. I can have it run in forward, I can have it run in reverse, or I can have it run forward plus reverse, or run randomly. I could turn up or down the gate length. I could apply swing parameters. I have different time divisions that I can use. So from the 4th to the 32nd. So I can apply different resolutions. I can use different note variations from the black triplets or dotted blacks. And sorry. So that's the way my sequencer works. Very quickly, this sequencer can also act as an arpeggiator. So the same as I just did, we can have the arpeggiator run on blacks, on triplets, or on dotted blacks at different resolutions, up, and down, with different octaves variations, which is fantastic. It's an incredibly flexible arpeggiator, and I can even activate a combination of both, which would be an arpeggiator that is managed on the step sequencer level, so allowing me to manage my octaves directly from the matrix. That's only the beginning of it, but I want to keep it short. Matrixbrute is an incredible unit. It is packed with features. You definitely need to give it a listen for yourself and check it out at Kilombo here in Israel. Thank you for listening.
Thanks a lot, Antoine. I'll just say a few words in Hebrew. אז באופן כללי, הצלחתם לקבל טעימה קטנה ראשונית ממה שמטריקסברוט מסוגל לעשות. הכלי הזה הוא באמת כלי משחית, ומגיע לו באמת כל אחד מהסופרלטיבים שהדביקו לסינתסייזר הזה, באמת בגלל הגמישות האינסופית שלו, בגלל היכולות היוצאות דופן שלו, ובגלל שיטת העבודה הבאמת באמת שונה מרוב מה שאתם מכירים, בעצם השימוש במטריצה במקום patch cables, הופכת את הדבר הזה למאוד נעים, ומוסיפה לנו גם אפשרויות כמו שראינו, הסקוונסר והארפג'יאטור, ויכולות רבות נוספות שהופכות את זה למאוד מאוד אינטואיטיבי, בצורה מאוד אינטואיטיבית להגיע לדברים באמת יוצאים דופן. אבל כמו שאנטואן אמר, זה מסוג הדברים שאתם צריכים להגיע, לשים את הידיים שלכם על זה, ויש לנו בחנויות קילומבו את מטריקסברוט פתוח, מוכן, מחובר, מחכה רק לכם שתבואו ותשימו עליו את הידיים. אני רק אזכיר, שבוע ארטוריה בקילומבו, שבוע ארטוריה בקילומבו, זה אומר 10% על כל המוצרים של ארטוריה, למעט מטריקסברוט שמקבל הנחה. כמו שאמרנו, יוצא דופן, קודם לא גיליתי את המחיר, אולי עכשיו נגלה את המחיר. המחיר הכי זול בעולם, ואתם מוזמנים לבדוק את העניין הזה. אנחנו מדברים על 7,190 שקלים של הסינתסייזר הזה עד סוף השבוע הקרוב, או עד שיגמר המלאי, תלוי בכם. זה לגבי מטריקסברוט. תודה רבה. תודה רבה מגיעה קודם כל למכללת BPM ולכל הצוות הטכני הנהדר שכאן, שעשה ועבד וטרח כדי שהשידור הזה יצא בצורה הטובה ביותר. כמובן לכל צוות קילומבו שעמל מאחורי הקלעים. And I would like to give a special thanks to Antoine, who did all the way from France. Woo-hoo! And explained beautiful about the Matrixbrute and AudioFuse, and people who have seen him yesterday in the workshop. Also, I thank you on behalf of them. So have a good evening, Antoine, and have a good fun from the time you left in Israel. Take some sun in your bag, if it's allowed on the airplane. And that's it for now.
Great time in Israel. Thank you for welcoming me here. Thank you for to the guys at the BPM and to the great guys at Quilombo for their warm welcome. Thank you all for listening, and please come check these out. Don't take my word for it. The great products, but you need to make your own opinion about it. Thanks for watching, and see you again soon.
כל מילה בסלע. שיהיה לכם ערב טוב. להתראות.